Alright guys, welcome to VALORANT's major roster updates last night, especially 100 Thieves officially confirming their brand new roster going into the upcoming season. Lots of reaction to it. Is it going to be any good, especially with these other teams that are still getting formed around the world? But also, the SEN City Classic is now underway. We got to see the new Sentinels in action last night for the first time. The same story with Cloud9. All of a sudden, Cloud9, though, despite their previous dominance of the off-season, maybe not looking so good this time around with Zelsis on the roster. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Let's just start here real quick because G2, they've been scrimming the last few days without Jonah P, to our understanding. Now, interestingly enough, Ethan, although we would expect with 100% likelihood that he's coming back to NRG, Som has retired, or at least stepped away for now. We think that Keiko is coming in instead as their new player. But interestingly enough, Ethan, while out of contract, has not signed. Well, he may have signed, but it's not on the contract database. Right now, on the official contract database, Ethan is not on NRG. He's a free agent, effectively. Now, do I expect him to come back? Yes. But is there something else going on? Maybe, right? Who knows? G2, could there be interest there? If they are going to keep Leaf, and of course Valin and Trent and Jorgamo, they need a new fifth instead of Jonah P. That's the key talking point right now. Will they do that? Will they stick with Jonah P in the end anyway? Do they feel like they need an upgrade in that department if they want to, in that kind of flexible situation, to take them to the next level and really try and stack even more talent? Possibly. But yeah, we've got G2 Ethan, we've got G2 Demon 1 being thrown around. Who knows what's really going to happen there? But let's talk 100 Thieves, former organisation, of course, for Ethan. They confirmed yesterday, or the day before, that Asuna and Cryo are to stay. They've not actually yet confirmed that Bang is coming back, but we're pretty sure that's going to be happening. They have, however, confirmed the other TSM guys. So Timotino is in. He's confirmed as the duelist for the upcoming season. Vora is in as well. He's confirmed as the scanning game leader for the new season. I thought this is pretty funny when 100 Thieves confirm it. The voice, Scan IGL, welcome to 100 Thieves Vora. This is a picture of the guy, and Leaf is in the replies being like, welcome back Boostio, right? So people are saying that he's basically Boostio, but a little bit thinner and with a slightly different haircut. So, yeah, what do we think about that? I don't know. But pretty excited for this team regardless. We also have confirmation of their head coach. So NBS, obviously, also from TSM, is coming in as well. Doesn't want to load for me, so let's give that one more go. They've also got an assistant coach as well, we'll see in a second, because they confirmed Doom Bros is also going to be on their rosters. 100 Thieves are cooking up. I'm intrigued a little bit to see whether we do get any confirmation that Sean Gares has been working on this, right? Because for some time it was, the main question was, who do 100 Thieves even have making their decisions? Because when all the players were allowed to explore their options, it was like, how long is it going to take until they find a general manager, right? And there were rumours that Sean Gares is coming back as their general manager, and once he came in, then these decisions started to filter through. So we'll see if that's confirmed or not in the coming days, but they've confirmed basically everything apart from Bang, but we're pretty sure that he's going to be coming back, likely in that controller role. There's also a few thoughts on what roster they wanted. So James of F says, people who know what roster 100T actually wanted to build at the start of the off-season, skull emoji. Hopefully we'll find out some more rumours on this in the coming days, because Rocket Bullet said, oh, was it maybe Zekken? Did they want Zekken in with Cryo? That would have made a lot of sense. Frankly, it would be surprising if they didn't want that, or at least that they weren't interested to some degree. Surely that would have made a lot of sense. But James of F comes back with this tweet of Jonah P kind of saying no. So maybe that wasn't their direction. I don't know. Tweet your thoughts on that. What would you have done if you were 100 Thieves? Maybe in the coming days you'll find out what their initial plan was. I don't mind where they've ended up here, actually. I'm kind of excited for that 100 Thieves roster. I think it's a good mix of, you know, talent and, well, talent that we know what they're capable of, but also some newer blood. Again, I do have my questions on whether it's really going to work, but especially in terms of trying to, you know, win international events and stuff like that. But they need a good year to guarantee their continuation in the partnership next season, I would imagine. There's also talk about Na'Vi. Really, the key talking point in Europe lately is the absolute Turkish takeover, because there's plenty of Turkish teams already in the league. You've got plenty of Turkish players playing for various teams in the league. And then the teams that won Ascension to qualify, Turkish teams again. And even then, the Turkish guys on the Pacific Esports team, they're off to BBL. So what will Pacific Esports do? Will they sign another Turkish team? Will they go a different route? Who knows? But sociably, it looks like it's going to end up on Na'Vi. So the rumoured Na'Vi team is Filu, sociably, Ruxic, Hero, and Shao. Of course, with Angel as the head coach over there with Chippy on board as well. So that's the rumoured roster. Of course, not official yet, but that looks like what's happening. So, of course, he was on BBL, and then BBL dropped everyone to sign the full Pacific Esports team. So it's all been a bit of a mess. But it is fascinating to think that there's plenty of Turkish orgs already with Turkish teams. There's plenty of Turkish players on various rosters, such as Rienz on Heretics, and then even orgs like Na'Vi are now potentially going to be majority Turkish. So it is a serious takeover on that side. There's also confirmation from Vitality that Kix is going to be gone. Of course, they're building their new lineup for next season. Chronicles come in alongside Durka. But yeah, Kix is officially out of there. We'll see that in a second. But he says, after 2 years in Vitality, working with some of the best people ever, thanks for supporting me, hoping for the best for him. And Durka says the same thing. Had a lot of fun playing with you. Thanks for bringing the smiles, even in tough situations. So they're going to hope the next year's a little bit better. Wishing the best for Kix. There's also some talk about Mindfreak. So we saw this implied yesterday, that Mindfreak might be cooking something up. After their stint on PaperX has come to a close, the question is, okay, where's he going to go next after PaperX do not look like they're going to do much with their roster? So there is talk about Liquid. So Liquid are in a pretty interesting spot right now. They're keeping Camo, they're keeping Nats. We think they're bringing in Miniboo as well. So that could be a team of 3. But apparently they're trialing a couple of players, Wayne and also Mindfreak. Now, this would be pretty remarkable. Now, due to import restrictions, they can only get one of these two. So, presumably, they might be looking at, well, Mindfreak or Wayne, possibly Mindfreak, right? So this would be very interesting if Mindfreak ends up on Liquid. Certainly something they have to think about, right? Bringing in a player with, experience on that kind of championship contending level, I think is worth thinking about. Certainly a player with the talent that Mindfreak has as well, because it's difficult for Liquid to replace what they've lost in some regard. Like losing Keiko to NRG is probably a pretty big L, so they've got to think about what that means. But let's talk about Sentinels, because I can't lie, there's all sorts of different flags going on here as well. Of course, Gen.G technically the import. The other guys are, while there is plenty of Moroccan heritage on this team, with Redux as well, Caillou, narrate, and basically Caillou and Redux play under the Canadian flag, narrate under the US flag, and then Gen.G imported Cortesia coming out of Brazil. So technically that's like the situation when it comes to imports. It's still a bit all over the place, but that is your starting 5 for the upcoming season. Now, yesterday, the SEN City Classic got underway, and we had 3 big games. 3 more games coming up today. But we had Envy playing, Envy against Cloud9. Now, this is very interesting because the full Envy team featuring Inspire, they just won Ascension, right? And they're expected to come into the Pro League. But of course, Ion and Kame, they can't play next season because they're not old enough. So there was all this talk for some time who they would get instead. Would they get Demon 1? What other option would they go for? But no, they're playing this tournament with those players, but without Inspire. So Curry is coming in instead, and they played Cloud9. So the first iteration of this Cloud9 team for the new season, the Oxy, Vic, Zelsis, Penny, and Zeppa lineup. It's a very Cloud9 lineup, isn't it, really? But are we in, if you're a Cloud9 fan, for the same thing again, right? Is it going to be Oxy and friends trying to get the job done? Zeltis, of course, coming in as the in-game leader. Look, it's only one series. All I'll say is that Cloud9, they love the off-season, right? This is what they're all about. They, they won the split 14-12 on Envy's map pick. They then lost their map pick 13-9. And then the final map, the bind, was a 13-11, a close one. Oxy dropped 30 for the loss, and Curry had a massive takeover, to be fair to him, on the Viper. But it's interesting to see that, Zeppa's known as a bit of an off-season demon, right? He tends to be good at these tournaments. We'll see what happens, because it is Cloud9's first series, but it is also an Envy team that is now a Tier 1 team, right? They've been promoted. But they've got Curry, and look, Curry did a great job the final map, but I think Curry's a solid player. Again, certainly in the off-season when he turns up for these tournaments, Curry does pretty well. But it's like, that's not even their full team, right? They've not got Inspire, they've not got Baby J. So Curry comes in and they beat Cloud9 in their first time of asking. So maybe not a great look for C9, but as I say, it is early doors here. Envy then went on to beat Qbert, so they 2-1'd Qbert Academy. Like, there were some technical stuff going on here. Xander had a dominant series here, actually. And maybe for Xander's perspective, he could... Look, the Rostermania is not done yet. There is an argument that Xander should still belong in Tier 1 somewhere, and we'll see if a good performance at the SEN City Classic might help that be the case. But Kane Zero had a great series on the other side, the 13-5 on the split. Again, Envy went down there. Knights went 23-9. The Abyss, though, was a 13-8 the other way, and then they went to a Pearl and it was a 13-7. So, yeah, Envy starting off hot with a 2-0 start, the final series, and yeah, this was late at night for those guys. It was getting pretty late anyway, so understandable that there was a bit of tiredness creeping in, but this was Qbert playing Sentinels, and Sentinels take the 2-0 dub. So their debut with Redux, John QT, Cortasia, Narrate, and Caillou, that went to a 2-0 result. It was 13-7 on the split. Then they went to a Haven and it was 13-11. So close fought affair. Obviously, it's Sen versus Sen in some regards, but Sentinels, the main Sentinels, they take the win. So it's only day one, but I think some interesting takeaways immediately, right? Sentinels, they didn't lose a map, but they only played one series. Excited to see Sentinels play against Cloud9 and to play against, of course, Envy. Look, Sen in no world could they or were they going to lose to their academy. That, I mean, you imagine how bad that would have looked to start out their tenure. So they got the win there. Cortasia says, really happy to be a part of this. Got some good rest today. 2 best of 3s tomorrow. That's what's coming up. So these are the best of 3s today. Cloud9 start off against Qbert, then they play Sen, then Sen play Envy. And as a result of those games, we will then see who makes it through to the bracket play, which is coming up, obviously, tomorrow. So, yeah, very much enjoyed your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Again, pretty funny, like, Curry's back, right? Like, Curry turns up in the off-season. Could he earn a spot? I think that's an interesting conversation, right? With the way that Envy are, they need a couple of players to replace those guys, Kane and Ion. So what do you do, right? Could you, if Curry does a killer job here, even with Baby J back in, maybe that's something to think about. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. We'll see how this Cloud9 team does for the rest of the weekends. This graphic will do platinum numbers as the season goes on, but look, it is still very much early days. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.